Hey, I'm excited. I'm here in Washington, D.C. A lot is going on. State of the Union, hours away. We'll do the wrap-up tomorrow. I'll be in this very studio in D.C. wrapping up the president's impactful speech. It'll probably be over 90 minutes. He said, hey, guys, it's going to be long. I have a lot to say. And he also has to get momentum back. The momentum that he lost after Friday's Supreme Court decision that we knew was imminent. I think it caught a lot of people, including me, by surprise. But the ramifications and the plan B is in action. And Democrats, according to Axios, they're giddy with the opportunity they say they have to represent small town and small business America and ask for refunds. With me right now is Jason Miller. Jason's been just about everywhere in this administration, again, helping out wherever he can, above and below the fray. And Jason is the former senior advisor to President Trump, is quite busy now in D.C. Jason, from what you know, from the sources you can reveal, what do you think will be in the speech tonight that will make it stand out?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have to rely on sources. I actually had the opportunity to.
Yeah, just hit on. Do you hit on? There you go.
Okay, so the on button, which is very important to radio.
So I don't need sources that you could be you.
Yeah, don't have to worry about sources. I was with the president this weekend as he was perfecting his State of the Union speech. And to sum it up, I would say 12 months, total transformation. You're going to hear the president talk through everything that he's done in the first 12 months, how that's impacted people's lives. But I think what he's going to do is continue. I shouldn't say what I think. I know what he's going to do is continue to use the guests in the gallery to help reinforce the messages that he's making. He's really elevated this, I think, to an art form where he can connect those human experiences to people and how that matters in their everyday lives. So as we talk through the economy, which is really priorities 1, 2, and 3, but we talk about everybody who is impacted under the previous administration, whether it be angel families, whether it be people in other countries who are suffering from dictators, whether it be people who are looking for what's that brighter future, what's the education moment. But to the point that you were talking about a little bit earlier, it's the economy is really what's most important, and the president's going to lay out the vision of how we continue to get there.
And also, what blows me away, and I watched the Washington Post ABC poll, and he has below 50% on foreign policy. And I thought, you might want him to put time on the economy. But what sober human being could notice what he did in Gaza, could see what happened in Venezuela, notice where Cuba, for the first time since the 1960s, has a shot at freedom, and the president's basically giving this guy the last chance for an off-ramp, and then confronting our enemy of 47 years, and that's Iran, at the same time trying to move Gaza forward in a tiered step towards peace and rebuilding. I makes me think that in America today, Democrat or Republican, you will never get 50% on almost every issue. Do you feel the same way?
It's look, with the partisan news environment, you automatically have a big chunk of people who are with you, a big chunk who are going to be against. And then it's moments like these, like State of the Union, where you have the captive audience, where you have the pomp and the circumstance of the formal State of the Union. It's that one time a year when a president of the United States can really hold everyone's attention to talk about what they're doing. And you're right when it comes to foreign policy. I mean, this is ultimately the president of peace. He has, 9 peace deals already. We saw from the previous administration, we had the Abraham Accords, no new wars. So we know from past experience he's been able to get it done. Obviously, we have a couple of big ones that are still out there when we talk Russia and Ukraine. Also, when we talk about making sure the Middle East, that we get this Gaza deal to hold in place. But it's only at events like this where the president can really communicate that without the, I'm probably not supposed to beat up on the competitors on the air, but you know who they are, without them continually chirping or carping at him and trashing everything that he's saying. So going directly to people, and also keep in mind, Brian, here's an important point too, is that yes, there'll be people who are watching live, but TikTok, Instagram, the sound bites from the speech are what will live on. That's actually how most Americans will consume this.
So I want you to hear what Ari Fleischer said to me on One Nation about what he would recommend. As you know, he knows communications, and he also knows communicating in tough times, as when the Iraq war was going sideways. Cut 10.
I think he's got 2 jobs ahead of him. One is to ring that patriotic bell. Bring our country together on the themes of patriotism the way only a president can in that grand forum. 2, don't over-brag. Don't tell the American people that you hit a home run when you hit a double. The American people know the difference. Prices are down in many areas, but they're up in some areas. There's a sense of unease still. As much as there is room, legitimate economic room for optimism and growth in 2026, Don't tell everybody it's a home run, it's a grand slam. Don't spike the ball until the ball is across the end zone.
So, have you said the same thing?
Yeah, in my own words and my own way, but Ari's a pro, and he hits it exactly. And that's why tonight, when you talk about the unifying themes, America's 250th anniversary, that will be a big theme.
He's going to bring that up.
That will be brought up a lot tonight. And some of the guests that he's bringing in that connect to that very vividly in emotional terms also will be there helping to communicate that story. It's a unifying thread that runs throughout the entire speech, both in the reminding people where we are, but then also what the rest of this year is going to look like. And Ari also was spot on when he talked about what makes a difference in people's lives. As I mentioned before, electricity rates, healthcare cost of prescription drugs, making sure that your streets are safe, how purchasing power is increasing, how inflation is going down, jobs are going up. All of the things that impact the regular person who wakes up every day, puts on the boots, heads into work, and maybe doesn't necessarily want to read the New York Times or watch a 7 a.m. news show, but what they do know is how much money's in their paycheck, how much they have at the end of each month.
Jason Miller, communications expert, is my guest in studio here in D.C. So, Jason, it's two things. The numbers, you could look at different and say they're skewed, but for the most part, the polls are pretty accurate that shows he's lost ground with Hispanics and independents. If I was to give you the president as a client, I know you know him as a friend too, why did the numbers fall, and how can you correct it?
Yeah, and this isn't the most complicated thing. When you look at the polling,
because it affects the midterms.
It does affect the midterms very much. It's not, you don't need to overcomplicate it. I mean, the fact of the matter is that any of the snapshot polls that are going on right now are snapshots. And the voters who are maybe they've moved to the undecided, maybe they're not as passionate about what's going on because they hear all the negative information. Democrats are essentially only renting them right now. And it's on the issues of economy and even to a lesser extent, even immigration. We've gotten off track with some of the visuals with regard to some of the immigration enforcement. Despite the fact that the president's record has been fantastic, people aren't hearing that enough. They're seeing some of the images that all of us wish we weren't seeing. So as the president continues to focus on the economy and focus on the actual border and creating peace all across the world, those voters are coming back. Now, the challenge going into the midterms is that President Trump isn't on the ballot. We're going to need candidates who are out there, both for the Senate and for the House, who are speaking in ways that communicate with voters that can't sound like Washington politicians. If you go in and you're talking about, well, here's what I did for HR 2512, people are going to tune that out in 2 seconds. What people want to know is that they know that things were going terribly under Biden. They want to know specifically what you did to improve their life. And then also, here's what you're going to do going forward. And you have to be able to communicate that in very personal terms.
So you guys got in power now, unlike when I was talking to you leading up to him winning the election. But I think one of the key things Republicans have to find a way to do is make Democrats explain what they would do different. It's easy to say affordability, but please tell me your plan. And I don't think any of them have one. We're going to raise taxes. We're going to do something for what are you going to do for the little guy? Like, what is the plan to grow the economy? I mean, Joe Biden used to make up stories about trickle-down economics. President Trump never talked about trickle-down economics. So how do you get your opposition to reveal their game plan?
Well, so
instead of blame Trump.
This is another thing where the president is the Michael Jordan of working these State of the Union speeches, the greatest of all time, because he knows there are these moments where Democrats have to make a business decision. Do they stay seated or do they stand up and cheer? So as we talk about a number of these unifying themes or specific policies that make a difference in people's lives, or there are even a couple of things I'm not sure if it's been teased out, so I can't share every detail. There are a couple of absolute tearjerker moments where you just, for even basic human compassion, how could you not stand to be with the person that the president's recognizing?
Correct that this time. You wouldn't stand for Jocelyn Nungri's family, for Laken Riley's family? Don't you think, looking back, they said that's kind of stupid?
Yes, and there are a number of instances tonight where, again, Democrats are going to have to make a business decision. If they stay seated, they will look inhumane, callous, and against everything that America is for. Nobody else can present that binary choice like President Trump.
Right. USA Hockey. if you don't stand for USA Hockey. Come on, man.
So this is where we get into the fun zone, because this was so cool. One of the coolest things I've ever been able to do when I was with the president, I was in the room with him when he spoke with the team, and Cash called and put it on speaker, and all of us there in the room could hear, and of course it was recorded on the other end. But to hear just the cheering, the excitement, the immediate post game euphoria, and when the president invited them to come to State of the Union, that they're all yes and they're cheering. So they're going to be there tonight. I'm not sure exactly how many, but I think pretty much the whole team is going to be there. And what happens exactly there, I think, that's all up to President Trump. How exactly he does that, but I know it's going to be pretty spectacular, and that's going to be right up near the front of the speech. That is going to be one of the telling points of tonight.
Because these guys got games tomorrow. These guys have games tomorrow.
Well,
they got to go back to work.
Now, here's the thing to remember, though, is keep in mind they're not coming in with the full pads. Now, I thought it would be cool if they came in with the pads and they just tackled the Democrats and maybe maybe a little body check to crying Chuck Schumer. That that would have been at 11, but they're going to be there. It'll be a powerful moment, very powerful moment.
Jason Miller, thanks so much. Best of luck. Look forward to, I guess, you going back to the White House to help out a little?
Yes, sir.
You got it.